Joined now by a Local 4 legend, if you will, especially here on SFE. Back in town is Rob Parker. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Man, appreciate you having me.
So I have to ask you, what brings you back to the D? You were on this station for 20-plus years being on SFE.
You know what? It was just something I had to come back. A couple things. I actually had my debut here in Detroit doing stand-up comedy at the House of Comedy right there at Hockey Town.
Nice.
And it was pretty awesome on Friday.
You didn't get booed off stage, did you?
No, I did not get booed off stage. And so many friends and people showed up, so it was a lot of fun. And the second part was I had my 20th anniversary party for my barbershop, which I've owned in Detroit for 20 years. Sporty Cuts on West 7 Mile Road. So it was great. We had a big party at Greektown, 300 people. It was awesome.
That sounds like a great weekend, being back in a place that means so much to you.
Absolutely. I love it here. You know, I've grew up here. I worked at the Free Press. I worked at the News. I worked here. I worked at WDFN, 97.1. If there was a job, I was working. So it's great to be back.
Great place for you. Not a great place right now for the Lions, though, on this 1-4 start to the season, especially after what happened in New England today. What is your overall view of where things stand with this Lions team? Because we've seen a lot of promise with them, but then everything fell apart today.
Yeah, I mean, I know people are optimistic and they love that Dan Campbell, that he won the, HBO show, and everybody was like so revved up about it. But I'm sorry, it's the same stuff that we've seen over and over and over. Very disappointing. Defense is bad, offense is bad, and the coaching is bad. 0 for 5 on fourth downs. You can't win like that.
What do you think is the next step for this team? Especially going into a bye week and you had so much hope and promise, then you have a speed bump like this, and now you have the rest of the season to go.
Yeah, I think the season, to me, had a chance of going the right way when they were in Minnesota. That was the game I thought Dan Campbell, as coach, gave away with some bad calls. And I think that's the one that hurts them. And now you're looking at a thing where the season could really go bad and go haywire, where at that point, had they beaten Minnesota on the road, it would have given them some confidence. They haven't won a road game since Dan Campbell came to Detroit. Think about that.
Wild. Jared Goff, a guy who was riding high going into this last game, had a speed bump today. But also a lot of people like to talk about the old quarterback, Matthew Stafford, now with the Rams. He had a great season with the Rams, led him to a Super Bowl last year. But things kind of going in a different direction this year. What are your overall views of the Rams quarterback right now?
Lions fans, they've seen this Matthew Stafford. Every time, things go wrong, people go, oh, he thinks he's back in Detroit and how bad it is. But Matthew Stafford, to me, is still a middle-of-the-road quarterback. He's not bad. He's got a great arm, and you look at him and you expect more from him. But then you see the interceptions. He's fumbling the ball. He's had a lot of turnovers.
Getting hit a lot.
He led the league, though, last year in interceptions. I mean, and if you remember, that dropped interception that Matthew Stafford threw in the NFC Championship game changed everything. That player for the 49ers who dropped that easy one, he's not even in the league anymore. That's how big of a drop it was.
So the Rams won the NFC last year, went on to the Super Bowl. Right now in the conference, who's your number one team? I know the Eagles are undefeated right now. Hasn't been pretty by any means to get to that point. But who is your top leader right now?
You know what? It's hard not to like the Eagles because we've seen Tampa Bay struggle. Green Bay lost to the Giants in England, right? We saw that. There were some other teams that you thought maybe the 49ers are starting to get better. They had a big win today. So I think right now, because the Eagles are undefeated, it would be hard not to look at the Eagles and say that they're the best in the NFC. Their schedule's a little sketchy and a little weak, and there's a lot of cupcakes in the schedule. But you know what? Those are the only teams that are there for them to play, and they've beaten them. Perfect record, perfect time with you, Rob Parker. Thank you, as always, for joining us. Thanks for having me, and NBC you later, Detroit, man. We appreciate it.
We'll see you after the break. Coming up, we'll recap some college football with the weekend. The Wolverines getting a win in Indiana and another big loss for Michigan State. We'll recap it coming up after the break.